St. Clair County RESA presents Dateline Schools, hosted by Terry Harrington.
All this week on Dateline Schools, we're exploring how our local teachers and administrators are evaluated. And tell us all about it, my special guest is the Director of Education Services here at St. Clair County RESA, Brenda Tenniswood. And Brenda, you've given us a good description of what we're trying to do here. So how do we go about doing this? What's the process?
For people outside of the education, they may not realize how intensive. This is very intense. It's awesome work, but it's intense. And so typically, again, regardless of the model, it starts with the teacher doing some self-analysis, setting a goal for the year, and having a pre-meeting with the administrator to discuss collaboratively what those goals for the year is. So that's the first step. Then that's followed up by what I would say is formal and informal observation. So principals are in classrooms. Depending on the tool, research-based says basically 4 to 6 15-minute observations, although some of the models have longer. Principals are in, and they are very intently watching what the instruction, and they're also very intently watching the student. Again, as we're trying to transition from teaching to learning, the principals are always looking through this lens of who's owning the lesson, if you will. Are the students engaged? What academic vocabulary is the teacher using? So within those models and what the criteria is, the principal is trying to be highly reflective and very objective at that point, getting down what data is going on. So that's step 2. And certainly the principals are always gathering information on a professionalism level about what the teachers are doing. Are they highly engaged in staff meetings? Are they taking on additional professional learning? So all those attributes come into place. And then typically mid-year, there's a touch point where the principals and the teachers gather together to discuss process. And I think one of the really critical pieces to realize about teacher evaluation is it's intended to support teachers. Teaching is really complex. It's very challenging work, and we want our teachers to feel supported, guided, and directed, and so we're really trying to build this collaborative endeavor. So lots of feedback back and forth, whether verbal or electronic, a mid-year check, and then the observations continue second semester, and toward the end of the year, then there's a final or post meeting in which the principals and the teacher, again, collaboratively come together and discuss the observations and the progress that's been made.
Well, how do our administrative staffs have the time to do this, especially when we look at mainly the elementary buildings where there's just one administrator, no assistants to help them?
I would say that is one of the largest concerns of our principals, who are doing phenomenal work already with a plethora of tasks. And so at every PD session, I think that's been one of the frequently expressed concerns. This is such important work. We know it's critical work. How can I free up myself to get into those classrooms? So depending on the teacher and if they're tenure or non-tenure, it can take anywhere from a minimum of 6 hours to 12 hours per teacher to engage in this work.
We'll be back with more tomorrow. For Dateline Schools, I'm Terry Harrington.